Have you ever wondered what happened after the events of Turtles Forever? Was that really the end of the Shredder? Was Hun ever able to return to his former human form? If you've had these questions all these years, join me today as I explore Splinter Forever, a short story set after the events of the movie. Splinter Forever was published in the TMNT 40th Anniversary Comics Celebration in 2024, in both the regular and deluxe editions. IDW had been in contact with the creator of the 2003 show, Lloyd Goldfine, for at least a couple of years, with the intention of doing something with that universe. But for one reason or another, nothing would come out of it. It wasn't until the 40th anniversary that IDW was able to put together a special that could continue the 2003, 2012, and Rise universes, with stories told by the creators of those shows. The story we're discussing today was written by Lloyd Goldfine, with art by Kerry Randolph, colors by Emilio Lopez, and letters by Tom Napolitano and Sean Lee. Since the show hit the brakes so suddenly in 2009, the team behind it was left with many stories in the pipeline they plan to tell in future seasons. As you probably already know, their last effort was in releasing the Turtles Forever movie, something they did out of pure love for the franchise, since they weren't getting paid in the end. Unfortunately, the short story could only be 8 pages long, so they had to do a character piece to remind readers of what the characters were like in this universe. According to Kerry Randolph, while the show changed its art style throughout the seasons, the style in this story is more of an amalgamation of different seasons, leaning heavily on the first 5. Kerry and Emilio had worked on the series. Emilio did colors for the show and kept all the color files from that era. Because of that, he was able to use the same color palettes, including the one used for flashbacks. Of course, he needed to do some adjustments, as those were colors for TV, and this needed to be printed. But, as a result, the story looks just like the show. Since it's only 8 pages long, there isn't much of a story in Splinter Forever, but this is what happened in it. The story opened with Splinter tied to an operating table, threatened by an injection of a glowing green fluid we could assume was mutagen or something like it. Next to Splinter were the Shredder and a still mutated Hun, along with a human foot ninja and some upgraded footbots from the Turtles Forever movie. As the Turtles crashed into the scene, Splinter started reflecting on the unusual life he had lived so far, from being an unusual pet rat that learnt ninjutsu to having a family of his own. He then reflected on each of his sons. Mikey, always playing the fool, but being the most natural martial artist. Raphael, always relying on himself and pretending to be more fearsome than he really was. Leo being very disciplined with his training so that he could always be there for his brothers. And Donnie, who saw the world in ways that Splinter couldn't even begin to fathom. The Turtles entered the room very well coordinated. Leo took on Shredder, Raph took on Hun, Mikey took on the Foot, and Donnie released Splinter. Once free, Splinter attacked Shredder, punching Shirel out of his own armor, and with enough inertia to be thrown out of the window. The story ended with Splinter clarifying that he could have freed himself at any time, something the Turtles didn't even need to consider because they were a family and had each other's backs. Interestingly, most of the stories in the second half of this special were Splinter-centric, which was a nice touch given that the character was dead or about to die in many of those universes. As for the experiment of getting the band together to tell more stories in this universe, Lloyd's opinion was that the comic book could be an ideal medium to continue the plots left unfinished when the show was cancelled. So here's hoping that IDW eventually brings this universe back. What do you think? Would you buy a book continuing the adventures of the 2003 Turtles? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you in the sewers.